Today's episode is sponsored by Sparks Magazine, whose new issue, subtitled Combustion Volume 7, releases this Friday, February 6th on middlemanrecords.bandcamp.com. It's everything you loved about music fanzines, including interviews, scene reports, reviews, band spotlights, and even a compilation CD snuggled right in its pages. Follow at SPARXMEGAZINE on Instagram and get in touch if you'd like to be a contributor. Hello, and welcome to Everything Remade, a podcast that I hope is about growth as much as it is about music. I'm Edie Quinn, and we have a great show lined up for you today. Before we get started, though, I'd like to remind you about our Patreon at patreon.com/humanmachine, where you can go to sign up and support the show, read zines, get music sneak peeks, and so much more. That's patreon.com/humanmachine. And now, I'd like to play something for you. You're hearing Opinion Ender by It Happened One Night, featuring my new pal Luke on vocals. The song comes from their debut 7-inch titled The First 5 Songs, which you can pre-order now on Larry Records.
For me, I kind of speaking from a unique experience because I always have had a history of my family being involved in music and actually playing in bands and being involved in music scenes, I guess. My dad more so involved in the music scene side, and my mom's dad was more of a kind of like a bar band type guy, but still involved in playing live music. So I guess I kind of speak from a unique viewpoint because I've always had that going on in my life compared to other people. But I always kind of was like, oh, it was something never that I could really do, just because it always seemed so unattainable. And then I guess if I had to really pick one instant though of being that's what I want to do, it was probably because I'd seen bands play, but nothing really had caught my ear seeing bands and my dad's new play. My dad always had bands staying at our house because he would book shows. But it wasn't until I saw the Bullet in a Bible Green Day live DVD where they played the whole big stage at Milton Keynes, and I was like, this is something I think I would want to do. Not in the sense that, but just because of the sense it looked like something bigger than just them. And I was like, that is something that I want to be involved in.
Yeah. When you're talking about your dad was booking shows and bands were staying at your house and stuff, what are we talking about exactly? What kinds of shows?
It was more along the lines of kind of garage rock, punk stuff. There was a lot of there were definitely some more punk bands that would stay, but it was just bands. I guess if I had to say pick one, I guess it would be kind of garage rock or alternative rock or just DIY. I guess coming off of that, because this would have been the early mid 2000s, coming off of that Strokes, alternative rock wave, I guess, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say a lot of bands that were just very alternative rock, just straight up rock bands. There was definitely a few punk bands, but just straight up, just I guess whatever you consider rock back then, back before it became what it is now, especially in the early 2000s.
So where were you? You're going to some of these shows, I assume,
Most of them were definitely at bars, but there was there was ones that I could attend, or when I got older. They went in my when I was in my pre-teen ages, 11 and 12. There was an instance where actually it was the band Smith Westerns before they got big. They played a barn that my mom's friend who she still knows. It was at their house, who I've been to within the last 10 years of my life. And they played a barn. They were playing on this band from Italy called Miss Chain and the Broken Healers were playing out on a floating platform It was really cool. They had like it was like there was a lot of like cool stuff like that I can like small things that I remember. It's like this is somebody's house where they're having a gig at, or this is somebody's backyard, or something like that. Or it's like a
Yeah.
VF like there was like a VFW hall that was down the road from us. Kind of they don't use it anymore, but back then they like somebody rented it out or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's wild, like, because with the exception of like punk and DIY, but this sounds like there was some crossover there. Like,
Oh yeah,
we just don't, like, I don't have a lot of reference for like where are these people having their shows, like, other than like bars, so
yeah, yeah,
it's really
absolutely.
interesting to me. And like, you know just the idea of I mean, like you insinuated there was crossover, so it makes sense that, but it's just like the idea of um these different networks that I mean, they operate so similarly to
Exactly.
ours.
It's like they were doing the same thing that I'm doing now. And I
Yeah,
like was exposed like they were sleeping on my floor, sleeping on somebody's floor in the middle of nowhere in Michigan to go to the next place. Like it's a very parallel experience when you look at it. Like when I look at it now, it's kind of like wow, like that's really
right.
weird. And that was something too. Was like that was actually a really big thing too. Was meeting all these people. Well, I was like, you guys are in bands and you guys go on tour and you
Hmm.
guys play. Like that's a thing that you guys do, and you guys aren't like rock stars. You guys are just like normal people who can talk to me about video games and like
Yeah,
can like will give me a copy of Pokemon Blue because you're like gonna become my dad's lifelong friend for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's just stuff like that where it's like that was another thing that exposed me to like I just loved being exposed to like all these people who were just like, oh my god, these people are so cool. Like these are rockers, these are real rockers. They have like leather jackets on, they're drinking beer and smoking cigarettes. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like this is what's like this is must like this is like the Sex Pistols in real life or like the Ramones because I loved the Ramones when I was a kid and it's like some of these guys were like just it's just the Ramones in real life and it's like wow like that was another thing too that really made me want to do it myself.
yeah. It's 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 like it's super interesting too because like we're talking about like there's the parallels to like this is another scene essentially where like like our scene, like the goals are just the doing for the most part,
Yeah,
right? it's
exactly.
like it's like and then there's this other scene where it operates like so similarly, and but to some people, and not obviously not all, but like to some people that's like the 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 not stepping stone in a derogatory way, but that's like the means to an different end, where
Yeah,
it's like well, we're doing this like to get to the next level where we don't have to do this anymore, but then
yeah,
we end up having the same experiences, and like you said, like making lifelong friends and stuff. And I wonder, like, you know like, because my dad was like in bands and stuff, and it was always like it was the goal was never like to just like make songs and play shows, right? The goal was to like be a rock star or whatever. And there was always this like I didn't I didn't do what I was supposed to do air about like his music making or whatever.
hmm
And it's I'm just so curious sometimes, like how people, when, like, yeah, they're doing the same thing we are, and then when we're all said and done, like, I think most of us are going to be like, we did what we wanted to do, and like we're happy with how that turned out. And it's
yeah,
just like when somebody is on the other path, and like, they did make these lifelong friends, they had these connections, they had, like, is there still something at the end where they're like, damn it, we could have, as opposed to like we did. It's an interesting, like, it's an interesting idea. I don't know, like, I mean, hopefully it's just like, even if you feel like you were trying to make it, whatever that means, like you the the journey was like enough, you know what I mean? If
Exactly.
it didn't, yeah. Um but yeah, it's it's wild. Also, when you were when you were telling the story, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, if I keep doing this, like doing the show and like playing shows and stuff, how long will it be before I'm chatting with someone that's like, and then your band stayed at my house with my
Yeah,
parents,
yeah.
or something. I was like, this person is. I'm pretty sure this person is not going to be like right now. Going to be like, and then Coma Regalia stayed at my place. But when you were like mid 2000s, and I was like, if it was 10 years later in Michigan, then maybe, yeah.
You're right.
But
Yeah. I think
yeah.
even too, like there was bands I can't. I had there had to be like, and there probably was like one or two, because it was like back in. I've had talked to some friends because obviously we're in the Detroit scene, but we like a few of us still live up in Port Huron, where I live. I guess like a few of us in like the camp, I guess, in the Michigan scene. But I was talking to friends of mine who were more from Detroit area, and they have like tales of like bands that played Port Huron, and like bands that ended up turning into other bands, or bands that had more of that like post-hardcore leaning that did still come and play, because I think there were other venues. There was a place called the Nora Grotto that a bunch of bands played. Toast and Abasi's band came and played there. But the thing is, that was still kind of like separated from what my dad was doing, and that there was times where I could have gone, and I was like, it was like like I think like most people who play screamo, we all have complicated relationships with our parents. So at the time, I was like, no, I kind of like rebuked it in a way, sort of, just to kind of like be like, no, I didn't want to do it. But now, kind of like, oh, what could have been if I would have gone to some of those shows.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's wild. Um, I would, like it is. It's super interesting to like, find out like, because like you're talking about an area that like, like, yes, I played like this, I played here in Michigan, I played there in Michigan, but like specifically like Port Huron, like there's so many places like that just have these little communities where bands like will just venture out, and like we maybe never heard of, and then they're just like the best place that we've ever played,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so it's always interesting to, when somebody's like, and then like, Who Calls So Loud played here or whatever, and you're like, what the
Right.
fuck, like, but yeah, it's, I don't know, I need to get back up to like um Kalamazoo or Grand Rapids or something sometime soon, because
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
my kids were just asking me last night, just like randomly, like, have you ever played Michigan? And I'm like, I back in the late '90s, I played Grand Rapids, like it feels like it was like every other weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
They just had such awesome things going on. But yeah, so like you're more or less always around music. And eventually, you watch this Green Day thing, and you're like, yeah, I need to like figure out how to get involved in like creating music and stuff. How did you go about that at first?
I think. Well, I was playing before then, because there was obviously always like my dad played, my dad booked shows. There was always like guitars and always instruments around.
Hmm.
So I was always having like a little bit of like experience playing music, either with my dad or like with my younger sister. Which like that didn't like that happened more as I got in my teens, and I started playing like any instrument I could get my hands on, because there's like drum kit in our basement or something like that, or guitar, because I'd been playing. I just started playing really early on, but I guess it wasn't until, I mean, there was so many times, like there's so many like tried and failed times to start a band. Like, oh,
Sure.
I need to like start this band, and like when I was in middle school, and that failed, like me, and like I've known Quinn, the guitarist of Abuse Repression, for since we were like 7. So there's always been times like, oh, we need to start a band. We both like music, but it never really happened until after, well, it happened like right before COVID, and then never really got that far until Abuse Repression got to where they are now, I guess.
Yeah. Was that was that you said before COVID? So like, was that the start of abuse repression more or less? Like was before then, but
Yeah,
it was like it because of everything going on, it took
yeah,
that
I think it
time
was
to.
because we played one show before then, and then I was in because I had been in a few bands and also had tried and failed. I was doing solo stuff. I was doing a bunch of stuff because there's a house venue that still runs some shows in Port Huron called Schwank Soundstead, and the first time I went there was like junior year of high school. So that's another thing too that got me more involved in like the local scene. Like, oh, this is actually something that you can do. This is like here's people who actually will help you play a local show and like listen to your demo or whatever, or just let you play acoustic guitar for 15 minutes or whatever. Because that's really what I listened to a lot of. Like, it was getting into stuff like that in high school, like Touche Amore and like that wave of like emo, like Dads and like modern baseball and all that kind of stuff, like Run for Cover era stuff. So that was another thing too. Is like, okay, this is all happening at the same time. Local shows, local music, all these bands who started from local scenes. That was the main push to be like, this is something you're going to do for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you were like you were just like, hey, let me come out and sing some songs and play some guitar.
Yeah, that's how it initially was, because I was like, yeah, I learned the American football tuning, and I just played stuff I wrote, whether it was a song with lyrics or just like acoustic guitar or whatever. It was just trying to get out there, and that only happened a few times. But that was the first time I really ever had performed live.
What's the American football tuning? I don't.
The FACGCE
Oh, okay.
tuning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm I don't know. I'm really I'm really I don't I'm it's I'm really bad with like tunings, right? Because
Right.
it's kind of funny. I'll tell on myself a little bit here, but like so I was like uh the only time I ever tuned like differently before the last few years was in Akamili. Like we did full down to D. So that's the same thing. It's just like take the whole thing down to D.
Right.
And like obviously like I grew up in like I started playing guitar like in the late '90s, and dropped D. So like I knew what this was, right? But then like everybody's always talking about, oh, this band does this tuning, et cetera, et cetera. And I just wasn't about any of that. Like when I started Coma Regalia, I was like, you know what, E standard was good enough for Bad Brains, so it's good enough for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a complicated reference. I know because of different things that people in Bad Brains have been all
Yeah.
about at times, but like that was my reference at the time. Anyway, so like later, like I'm involved in a project, and we were writing songs like back and forth like online, right? Me and someone else, and they were like, "Yeah, this is in drop C," and I was like, "Okay, cool." So like I only dropped the top string to C and I didn't do anything else. And I was like, "Oh, like late like and later like they were trying to write a guitar part to one of the songs that I wrote, and they were like, "I can't do this." And I was like, "Okay, well, you recorded the other songs, but like that one, you like they took a pass on, right? They're just like, you do it, and we'll just finish this up, and it'll be all good." And so I did, and then I was like, "What were you?" It was after the fact. I was like, "What were you having trouble with?" And they were like, "Well, I just couldn't figure out. Like, did you do drop C?" And I was like, "Yeah, I dropped I dropped a string to C," and and they were like, "No, you were supposed to drop the top string to C, and you were supposed to drop the rest of it to D. That's why I couldn't figure out what you were doing." And I was like, I do not know what the. So
It's
like,
funny because there was a phase in my life where I just got into the alternate tunings, and I was like, I used to tweak it like this, and now it's just I feel the same way about E standard. So yeah,
yeah,
that's understandable.
it's just like I was just like drop D is like you drop the top string to D, so drop C. Okay, well, I mean, you just drop the top string to C. But the other funny thing about that is like, I fucking love that tuning now, and I use it in one of my other projects. Like just drop the tops. I think I did that in Kill Code too, but I would have to go back and actually like see if that's what I did. But
That's awesome.
but yeah, I love that tuning now. It's just like drop the top string to C and leave the rest in E, and it's so weird. Like there's a just a like yeah, you got that top string that sounds all low and it's flopping around, but you got the other ones that are like still sound high in retrospect, and it's like I just love that shit. So being dumb like works out sometimes. But yeah. So when you first started like writing your own songs and stuff, like were you like how long have you been playing guitar before you were comfortable enough to start doing that? And like how did you just like get into playing guitar? Like were you asking like your dad like to show you stuff, or were you like on YouTube like watching videos, things like that? Or
Yeah, I definitely think it was a lot of like asking my dad had like would have chord books lying around and like asking him, or he would try and teach me stuff too. And then yeah, like that had started happening really early on, like when I was in elementary school. And then as I got older, I was started like the high school I went to has a guitar class, so there was a lot of that too. Where it's like learning actually how to read music, and then like learning music there, and then playing music there a lot. And so it was kind of like just playing guitar at home, getting in high school, and be like, okay, getting influenced by more emo type stuff, and then just being like, I want to write some stuff that sounds like this. And I'd always try to like write songs growing up, but none of them were particularly like. It was just I'd always be like, oh, let's write a song that sounds like this band or something, but nothing that ever got recorded or anything like that, or like was more than written down on like a piece of paper. But it wasn't until high school when it was like, now is the time where I feel like I could write something performable, I guess.
mm-hmm. But when you're tuning your guitar to like the American football thing, and then your dad's trying to show you like these chords or something, is your dad just like, "What the fuck is this?" Or like, what's
Like
the
in high school,
overlap
it wasn't
there?
so much because I think because when I was younger, it was like literally like I was just interested in learning like Green Day, AC/DC, Ramones, because I was like a classic rock and punk kid, and it wasn't until I got into like middle school and high school that I started listening to heavier music. But so we definitely had some overlap there where we
Okay,
would be like he would try and teach me some similar stuff. It it isn't until I got into like the double digits of age we started to branch away from each other. But there was
okay,
definitely a lot of time where it was like, oh, let's learn, a Highway to Hell or something by AC/DC.
okay. So it wasn't just a jump. It was like you were
Oh
already
no,
sort
yeah,
of
it was a gradual progression for
Okay.
sure.
There's all the stories about like Sonic Youth and stuff, and how like they never knew how to even tune their guitars, so they'd just tune them however, like whenever they wrote a song, like they'd tune it a certain way and not even necessarily remember how they did it. So like some songs they
Right.
couldn't even play, and it's really interesting to me to like figure out like if somebody just decided to pick up a guitar and start learning, and they're just like, oh, I heard this band like tunes, you know in this certain way, and then just like goes from there. Like, I wonder
Right.
what if there's like a working backward at some point where it's like, oh no, now I actually have to learn how to like play in standard, because like I want to utilize like certain chords
Right.
certain ways and stuff like that. But
Yeah, it would definitely was like me looking at tabs at the age of 10 with my. I think the first guitar I got, I think it was either my 10th birthday or my 11th birthday. It was like an Epiphone Les Paul, like the black and brown one that honestly looks just like Billy Joe's one that he played for a period of time. And so I had that, and I was like, let's just learn every Green Day song possible. Let's learn every song I liked, I guess.
and when someone is like super into Green Day at your age and at that time when you were that age, like what is the quintessential Green Day album to you?
I think at the time it probably would have been Dookie, or I think actually American Idiot probably was like the big one for me at the time because it was like just so big. It was like kind of just like a cultural phenomenon. But
Mm-hmm.
I had all their CDs and listened to so many of them, and I think looking back now, I would probably still say Dookie. But they really have such a good run of stuff where you could pick anything out from Dookie up until Warning and think, yeah, this is like their best record, and I wouldn't even be able to argue it because there's a lot of really good stuff there still.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was like, that was like right at the right age, right? When like, Dookie was released and became like a, cultural phenomena, like right in that time period in the late 90s when, Nirvana had just blown up and
Hmm.
everything like that was happening. And, it was, it was really weird. Like, like a year, like we saw them play at a place, and Dookie had like just come out, and we saw them play at this place called excuse me, I believe it was at Janice Landing, and it was them and like Bad Religion and that band the Toadies played, and they you know
No way.
they weren't shit at that time either, right? And like we hated them. We were like they fucking sucked because like we weren't about that. You know what I mean? We were there to see Green Day and Bad Religion. We didn't care about like alt rock, or whatever. Like
Right.
I think they're fine now, but anyway,
There's a like one or two, like obviously the single is really good, but there's a song called like I Burn off that record that's actually really cool. There's some weird chords on there.
yeah. Oh,
I kind of like that. The Toadies like underrated, I would actually say.
it's yeah, it's one of those things, and I will admit to all of my like when I was that age at that time, I'll admit to
Oh,
all of my like prejudices as far as like music goes, where
same,
I
absolutely.
I would not have it, I would just be like, no, no thanks. Like, you know, um I mean, we saw like Kevin Seconds play once, and he just played like all of his like soft rock or alternative rock stuff, and we were like,
Mhm.
fuck this, um,
Right.
so that's just like the mentality we were at. We were just like, you should be playing like we saw Bad Brain once, and they played like no fast songs, and we were like, fuck this,
Right.
but yeah, like so it was like this. I'm just guessing that this is like kind of like a 5,000 capacity sort of like outside venue, right? So it's like it's not big, but it's like big enough, right? And the year, or it was maybe the year before that, the we did not go see Green Day play at a record store where like people would ask you questions about the record you were going to buy. And this never happened to me. So this is just what people said. More than one person said this happened to them. Maybe it was a lie, but people would ask you the whole like name 5 songs kind of bullshit, and they would not sell you records if they didn't think you were cool.
Wow.
And Green Day played at that place, and we didn't go for whatever reason. One of my friends went and was like, yeah, there was like 150 people there or something, and then it's like the next thing they're the biggest band in the world or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's and I don't know. And this the show that I did go to, we 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 ran into Billy Joe, and one of my friends was like, "Will you sign this?" And he was like, "No, but we can make out if you want." And the girl was like 16 years old. But anyway,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I don't know if like you know, uh,
I mean, I think like going off like I have to like look back and like a lot of these things in a time capsule too, because a lot of
yeah,
things that too where it's like I enjoy this and I have like I know that there was probably some stuff going on, like I mean, like Fall Out Boy is another thing too. And I think there's like many tales of like what all these records are about from the year 2000s, and I'm like, like totally understandable, and that these people are pieces of shit. Like I
yeah.
definitely
I don't even know.
don't support them at like at that point. Like
Yeah,
it's like get to the point where it's like these bands are, you know, it is. I definitely believe that so many things happen to so many people with like in like as a result like these like from these 2000s bands where I'm like, yeah, it definitely checks out. The behavior would not surprise me.
yeah. My like I don't know if somebody's joking around or not. I don't like nothing happened in that instance. It's like you can assume that it wasn't a joke and like, oh, okay, you're pretty gross, you know. Um,
Yeah,
but like
definitely.
it was like you know like me and my friends, like the same group of us went to like all these shows, and we met we met like all these people. We met like you know Lagwagon and No Use for a Name and AFI. Like we met all these people, and
Oh
like
yeah.
most of them were cool. So you know, and most of them did like even the ones that would be like, you all want to go drink, and we're like 16, like never nothing inappropriate ever happened. So it's like a that's almost a testament to some of these people, like that, like yeah, that should these things shouldn't have happened anyway, but like they were they weren't creeps, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It I've told some of these stories like in private to different people, and getting more into like because like I'm pretty sure when we met AFI, I'm pretty sure, and like I was like almost 18, and so I think Davey must have just been like 19 years, like as far as I
Yeah.
know, like he's barely older than me, but I'm pretty sure that like you know I'm pretty sure like Davey was trying to hook up with me at that show, and I was like, I've told that story before, and people were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you." But like,
Why didn't you do it?
yeah, I know, I know. But I'm like, cause like, there's like a million things I didn't know about myself then, like so,
Right. No.
but
Especially like also too, it's like like I don't know, like I think that I feel like if it happened a lot more back then, I feel like in like I don't know, especially like before a band like gets really big, like these like there's a point where it's like, hey, like how are you weaponizing your power as a frontman in this band, or are you just you know
you're just a person that's
just a
also,
person
yeah, like
exactly?
like I said, like he was like a year older than me or something,
Right.
and like this whole I think like this whole thing to like when you're 19 years old and you're on tour and you're from California and you're in Florida like playing a show, and this whole thing is as like wild and big to you as like, you know what I mean? It's not the same as like, yeah, you're like 5 years later your band is like big and you're whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Um it's such a like I don't like I'm not trying to excuse anything anybody did, and I know you're not trying to do that either. It's just it's it's like the landscape of all these things and like what we understand about like these dynamics between people and stuff now, like it it is easy to see where people are like, it was a different time. It's like that doesn't excuse it, but like you
Yeah.
know as I was being there and now I'm here now, and it's like you know I consciously, and this is like less this is less like a something that I believe or something that like do I need to be worried about this because of our current political landscape, but it's like I'll be sending people records, and like I'll have like zines or something, and I'll be like, I probably shouldn't send this zine to people that I don't know, right? Because like
Yeah.
if their parents, if this is someone that's younger and their parents see this and it's got a ding dong, a drawing of a ding dong in it, like, or
Right.
if it's got a drawing of some boobs in it, like, how's this person's like potentially Trump loving parents? Like, the next thing you know, like, I'm being like, dragged out of my house by, FBI or something because of a cartoon, like
Yeah.
that,
No.
that's not even sexual. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, yeah, not saying like it was a different time, but like it was, and it doesn't excuse it, but I don't know. You know what I mean? It's so,
No, I definitely do think, and I think that I think that people have become more aware of like their privilege. I guess not that their privilege, or like how the dynamics work between people, and people are also like, not saying people are more sensitive now, but that's saying that's a bad thing. But like people are also like more open to saying what would like hey, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. It's like it's more of a
yeah,
conversation that people have. It's more of
yeah,
a thing that's out in the open. People aren't afraid to say, hey, don't do that, or or whatever. People are like, or people aren't afraid to ask. I mean, it's definitely things have evolved, and I think it's definitely for the better. The fact that like and I think that people also look at things back in the day through a telescope of, okay, well, how would you do it now? And it's like, well, I think our information has become more available, and our understanding of how all these things work and like how the dynamics of power work and like how whatever. Not saying that like every person is looking to exploit their power or whatever,
hmm,
but we all understand how it works now. We're all like, information is more readily available. We can all like find stuff on the internet, or instead of having to have a friend to, hey, you should read this book from the library. If the library has it, you can go out and find a PDF of like some political theory that helps you understand, okay, how have I made this happen to somebody else. So
yeah,
I think it's definitely for the better, and I think that it's also puts people in a time frame, or in a frame of looking at things through that telescope. So for good, for better, and for worse.
yeah, yeah, and like, and I just want to like to be clear, like, like the zine I was talking about in particular is like it's not a, it's like, it's not pornography. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just
Oh yeah,
like
of
I
course.
mean, I am making a zine that's like there's straight up gay porn in it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, but like I would not just send that to people I don't know. But the one I was talking about, it's just like it's sort of a it's a it's a it's a relationship thing, but it's like a relationship to like gender and stuff thing too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a poem, and it's got drawings, and it's just like it's a thing, and it's not like there's nothing inherently sexual about it, except like there's a couple parts where people are nude, and like, yeah, that's the landscape we got to live in now, where it's like I have to think to myself, like, if the wrong person sees this, then it's another, oh yeah, like, and it's
Yeah.
just like, no, I if I know you, like, I'll send you this one. If I don't know you, I'll send you this other one. That's just like not, but yeah, I don't know. It is it's it's wild. Like, we're sort of we're at that like we're at that threshold where, like you were saying, like, you can go online and you can read something and you can refer to all these things, and then like also like there's the other half of that where people's like comprehension of any given situation is so poor, that like that
Yeah.
someone sending someone a zine would be accused of,
Yeah.
like whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, but like I remember it was like in like 2017 or something, where they were doing all of the where, you know who just put in all those like travel bans and stuff, and they were
Yeah.
doing all that stuff, and I read this thing about like someone was flying back into the country with a manga, and they got arrested for CSAM, and it was like, this is a fucking manga, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, so it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, there's that shit going around a while ago, which, like, you know, it turned out to be false or whatever, where like people were talking about there was a certain trans creator that was like, I'm on all these FBI lists and they send me all these letters. Like, it ended up being like a lie, but like, not that I don't believe we're not in these databases in one shape or another, but I'm always just like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, when is somebody going to be like, you're under arrest for your podcast, you know? Like, oh, okay, fucking cool. All right. But yeah, I don't know. Uh at any rate, like, we do still get to keep making cool music and doing cool things for
Yeah.
the time being.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
Thank God.
shout out to that. So like, you and Quinn start jamming, like, you know, before the lockdowns and all that, and then eventually the project sort of takes off. Y'all released your self-titled EP in 2024. That's Abuse Repression, and you know, there's a lot of interesting things that I thought about the difference between the release y'all just did last year and the EP. But first, I want to start by saying you have a you have a song on the EP that is also the name of the band, and I fuck with that really hard because, like, in the 90s, like, every band did that, right? Like, Suicidal
Yep.
Tendencies had like Suicidal Tendencies, but you don't have like there's no part in the song where y'all are like Abuse Repression, you know, or whatever. Like, so
Yeah.
so was the song just like, this is the blueprint for the band, this is the groundwork of the band, this is what the band's about, so we're calling it that? Or like what was the big factors for naming the song that, if there wasn't going to be, you know, the like, we chant our band name in there, you know?
Thank you. I think really it's because so it was we okay. The first show we played actually before the lockdown happened was under a different name. It was under the name Ischemia, like ISCHEI. Oh, sorry, ISCHEMIA, which is like a medical term for like something that happens to your veins or something. I forgot exactly what it was. I looked it up and I was, oh, that's cool. But then we played that show, tried to get back together after lockdown. Like, okay, that band name already exists, and so we were like, okay, Abuse Repression is the new band name after we're like a bunch of mulling it over. But that was the same song that we like the first song we wrote, or the only song that we kept from the Ischemia set. So it was like, okay, if we're gonna be Abuse Repression, this is Abuse Repression. This is what we're all about, I guess, essentially. And the way that song is on the EP with the noise at the end is like very indicative of like our like what we're trying to do with screamo and stuff like that. So we were just like, okay, that's definitely. And we also just wanted to name a song after our band because like Black Sabbath did it, you know, like all these bands have done it. So we're like, oh, it'd be funny. Like even bands in our local scene have done it. So we're like, yeah, we need to do it. So
Yeah.
it's like it was like a multitude of reasons. I'd say definitely. I'd say the biggest one though is that it's the oldest song we had, and it was I guess the most indicative of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Jason and I like have been talking about, yeah, we have to have a song called Coma Regalia at some point, but I wouldn't be satisfied unless it was like it held true to that like formula of like, you know, like bands like Body Count and Suicidal and whoever, you know, the other plethora of bands that have done it, where it's like pretty much the only lyric in the song is the band's name,
Right.
you know, it had to be. So yeah, I don't know, we'll just like have to settle for a cover of Suicidal Tendencies, ST Anthem or whatever, but just replace the lyrics with our own band name. But yeah, so you know, you said that that was the song that was the holdover from the previous incarnation of the band, but that
Yeah.
was also like where you were going as a band.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
the newest EP is like, I wouldn't say there's like more or less noise. Like it feels like there's more noise to it. But it's like also like it's less songs, so it's like, does it feel like there's more noise because there's noise in every song and there's only 3 songs and there was 5
Right.
songs before? Like it's hard to gauge that accurately. But the biggest difference is, I think, is that like a lot of bands kind of go in reverse of what y'all did, where your debut is like the recording is very like it's very like refined, and the new recording is just fucking pretty wild sounding. So
Yeah.
like you almost like, usually you hear it the other way around, because like it's like bands like just are able to afford, or they get better at recording themselves, or they just find a place that captures them better. But you all specifically, like, I'm assuming you were leaning into the noise aspect, and you're like, you know what, let's just make this recording like more raw.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of the fact that too, we were doing it's a split with the band Pagliacci, who was like our friends Zach and there's our friends from Michigan, from like Detroit area, and they're a lot more like heavy, beat down grindcore stuff. So we were like, we need to be more like, even if it's rough around the edges, I think that would match well with them. So that was a big reason we did it too.
Oh, okay. So it was like because that was released on CD too, right? So that's
Yeah, it was.
also a big difference between, like, if it was released on a record, you're flipping a record, so there's that like sort of detachment from what came before, whereas on a CD you're gonna butt right up against the other tracks, and so it was
Absolutely.
like, yeah, let's find a middle ground there.
Yeah, I think we've been playing so many shows with them. I think that it was definitely something we wanted to do. We wanted to be. I think it was kind of like, I don't know. It was a mixture of things. Like, it was a bit cobbled together. It was like, hey, do you guys want to do this split? And we're like, oh yeah, for sure, because we've been working on another split for even longer and have these songs we want to play that aren't really noisy at all. But we were just kind of just like the headspace we were in. I guess it's like, just it was a mixture of things. I think we were all like coming off of like what was going on in the world. I guess really
Mm-hmm.
just very. It's. I think it's more. It's like it was very environmental, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And like, I love that kind of stuff because like, I don't know. I like when 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 a band comes out and like every single one of their releases like sounds like it was recorded the same way with the same gear and with the same, like, I don't like I just if it was good, then it's good, right? And like and there's no complaint there, but it's like, to me, I'm always just like, what, like, what tells me that these songs are different than those last songs, like, as far
Yeah.
as like like what makes this a fresh thing as opposed to just a continuation of the last album, or you know what I mean, like.
Yeah.
and and I've specifically, like, I've tried to do that with recordings, like there's one album where I was like, I want to make this recording sound like this other album because it is a continuation, like, of that. And I've been like, but I want this one to sound drastically different, or this one to sound.
Yeah.
And like, it's it's not it's not to, like, like, disparage like anyone who's like, I've got my system locked in and I love the way that I'm producing something now, and whatever. But I'm always just like looking for that thing that tells me like what this is, and
Yeah.
so I find that really interesting. It's just like, yeah, okay, like, this one's gonna come at you like this, and this one's gonna come at you like that, and yeah, I don't know, like, when when you like when you listen to both recordings, which one do you think represents the way you sound live more?
I think definitely the crucifixion exercise
Yeah.
split that we did for sure, because it's like we do a lot of noise live, and I think we weren't really playing live as much when we recorded the EP. Like we had our old bassist, and we weren't like we had like our time frame was a little bit like our space to like play shows was a little less open. We went on one tour, so we went on the road after the EP came out and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
when we went to 2025 and our bassist left the band amicably, there was no bad blood or anything. It was just he just didn't want to, like, he decided it's a different path in life than us, which we're still friends with them. His little brother is actually in another band. It's like in our scene in Southeast Michigan called In Search of Basilisk, so we still see him pretty often. But he left the band, and then we got our bassist Micah now, and they just kind of like they're always down to play shows, so we started playing a lot more shows. We went on a run through Canada, we went on like another tour, and we just came back and we were like, this is more indicative of what we sound like live, because we were coming off of playing so many shows and we were seasoned in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And when you say that there's a lot of noise in your live show, do like do you mean like the full like 3 minutes or whatever that it might be like from like the end of one track to the start of the next, or do you like condense that because you're like, look, obviously we're only going to play for this long, like we can't have it like how's that work out with like, or is
We do have, no matter how long our sets are, there's always like a set section at the end where it's just noise,
oh, okay, so
basically.
you sort of close with that.
Yeah, that's our closer, and then there's always like transitions too. With like, we all have, like, I have a SP404 that I mess with on stage that I can do stuff with that, and our bassist and our guitarist are both like crazy into noise with crazy pedal boards, so they're always doing crazy stuff in between songs and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, because I wondered like, if there's like there's the credits on the albums where like it insinuates that Quinn does most of the noise. So it was like, you know, so if you play this one song and then there's like 2.5 minutes of noise at the end, like I'm not even saying this like it to be silly or whatever, but like somebody could, if it's like someone else in the band and like go and towel themselves off or like go to the bathroom, like you could just have like a wardrobe change, like
No,
anything could happen.
I wish it happened that way. It ends up usually, so our drummer will run off the drums and grab, because I have two microphones that I use. I have like a microphone that runs into my sampler, and then I have like the stage mic, like the house mic or whatever. So they'll grab the microphone from me, and then we'll both just start yelling for a good like minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe longer, and then we'll like mess with pedals and stuff, and then eventually it ends and we're all sweaty and covered in dirt and on the floor.
Yeah. Oh, great. We smell like the cable box now.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
basement. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I think back to a lot of antics that some bands that I was in high school and shortly thereafter like would get up to, and I was just like, you did not want to give us like 3 minutes to like you did not want to leave us unoccupied for bad things could have happened, like
yeah.
there would have been food everywhere like in the venue, and there would have been like a mess to clean up. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we're all pretty tame for the most part. We usually just try to keep keep the attacks on our own gear. Like my
yeah,
sampler is so beat up, and the microphone I use is like dented, and there was a point where like I think during we played in DC with some of our friends at Rhizome, and our bassist, they broke a string and they just like ripped all the strings off their bass at the end, just like
oh no,
just ripped them off. And I was like, yeah, we get up to some crazy antics, but it's never towards anybody else. We might like tackle somebody in the crowd, but it's usually somebody we know.
yeah,
Try and keep it. That's the thing. We try to like push the boundary as far as we can, but I'm also like a firm believer in like there's a line to where like people have consented to enjoying themselves, and people have consented to subjecting themselves to something. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
Yeah.
dragging somebody else into it is like that's something that we try to avoid. Unless it's somebody like it's somebody that we know who are like, oh, this person won't mind if I jump on their back
Yeah.
or like hit them with like a sweep kick or something or do something crazy. Like they like stuff like that. But like we try to go as far as we can while still respecting people's boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one time I did vocals in that band Iwakura when we were on tour and we were playing a show with them, and we were like, you all have to play with us, but their vocalist was in England at that time. So they were like, we'll play with you if you do the vocals at that show. And I was like, oh my God, like that'd be amazing. Like you know, so I like I was sort of, I don't know any of these people. I'm just there on tour, and I was sort of just like at the front and people are there, and I'm just like, I'm not getting in people's faces because I'm like, I don't know these people. I don't want to cross any lines, you know.
Yeah.
And at some point, Ian, the guitar player, just like kicks me into the crowd, and I'm like, okay, everybody's cool, you know. Like they
Yeah.
want me to be rowdy, and then it got a little
Yeah,
rowdy,
absolutely.
and it's fun. But yeah, the part about the bass strings, like that could not be me because that's like, as soon as I break one string, like a dollar amount goes in my head, like fucking
Yeah.
shit. This is
We were
$50
already on
worth
tour
of
and it
bass
was like
strings, you know?
I definitely think they had like sectioned out some budget because they're like, hey, my bass strings are going to die on this
Yeah.
run. Like we need to set some money aside from door, and we made like that was the most we've ever made at a show. I think with us and the other with split with the other bands, we made like 280 or something.
Oh, so it was
And
like
it was
the
like
universe was just like, you know, smiling upon you all, you know? It
yeah,
was just like,
at night was pretty awful, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't awful. It was like it's tour, so like, hey, I got to sleep on the floor. I did see a roach in the bathroom, but I got to sleep on the floor at this venue, and got paid handsomely for
Yeah.
screaming. And I'm like, that's it. You take some, you win some, you lose some.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody was like, oh my god, that was awful, and I was like, guys, we're on tour, like. If we're down in the dirt with the roaches, so be it. We're rich, essentially,
Yeah.
in the DIY sense.
Yeah, I mean, if any a night to break some bass strings, it's tonight. You know,
Yeah,
like,
there was definitely it was the night. It was that
yeah.
night for sure.
We I was I was just like I was just texting with my friend Aster, and she's like, oh, you know, like talking about like playing guitar or something, and I'm like, I haven't played guitar because like I broke a string and the rest of them are like fucking shitty and rusty, and she like straight up sent me this box of guitar strings, and I'm like, what the fuck, you know, like that's so amazing. I
That's
posted about it
awesome.
online, and my friend Tyler, who I do a project with, he was like, yeah, somebody sent you guitar strings, but I bet you're still boiling those bass strings. And like, I never been like called out so fucking hard by anybody. And Tyler's like, bet you're still boiling those bass strings. Like, yes, I certainly am. And I am about to boil them again. Yeah, it's just like, damn, like when it comes to like gear, like, it's like, yeah, $50 or, you know, 35 or whatever you can find them for a set of bass strings that could arguably last you years, you know, depending on how picky you are. Like that's not the end of the line, you know. Drums, like one cymbal that costs like $300, like, oh fuck, you know, like,
Yeah, our drummer's going through that right now because like obviously these are like road worn cymbals. They think I don't know when they got them, but a while ago, and
yeah.
now they're getting to a point where it's like, yeah, we need to invest money into that, and it's just like, oh god,
Yep, here we go.
I,
Yeah,
it's such a sink.
I have a hi-hat, like, and it's like I didn't think those things ever broke, but I have a hi-hat that is
Right.
just fucking unwinding, and it's like, oh my god,
Or
I'm gonna record like 5 more albums on it. I don't give a shit, but like, you know, I can't afford this stuff. But
eventually you get to a point where it sounds really good to be like, how'd you get your hi hat to sound like that? Like it's broken.
it's real broken. It doesn't sound amazing. It will for like 3 or 4 days, and then it'll sound the worst. It will be the worst, like the biggest fart of a cymbal ever. Yeah, but you know, speaking of drums, then you start. It happened one night. and like, you're playing with Drew now, who is arguably like one of the most creative drummers out there right now. How did It Happen One Night come about? Like, nobody knew anything about this. Then y'all posted that live set from that fest that y'all played, which I believe was your first show. So, like, what's the brief history of that band? How'd that come together?
I, I'm honestly like it still feels like a dream to me because I saw Drew play a long time ago. I never got to see Heavenly Blue live, unfortunately, but I saw Drew play with like their side project, their like noise rock improv side project, and I was like, this guy is insane. And he hit me up one day and was like, hey, because Abuse Repression had been playing a show, like a bunch of shows, like kind of just like built a name for ourselves out there in the scene. And Drew was like, hey, like, I love your vocals. Would you want to do vocals in this project that I'm starting with Michelangelo, who plays guitar in a few local Detroit area bands? Like, I think he plays in like In a Daydream. He's in a few bands, I forget, but yeah, Drew just hits me up. He's like, do you want to do vocals in this project? And we're like, yeah. And at first, it was just going to be we're going to play that secret set and maybe record the 7-inch, and then, just be like, oh, this is it. This is all we ever did. That's why we called it It Happened One Night, because it was going to be like, oh, it happened one night and then never happened again. But then we just played and we were like, we need to keep doing this. So here we are now, basically. I think that was sometime last year. I don't remember exactly when. I want to say it was like January, February-ish, but
Last year, the show?
yeah, in 2025.
Or
Or
you mean when you got together?
when I got hit up, yeah, when I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
hey, when they were like, hey, do you want to join the band or do you want to come jam with us? Basically, I was like, yeah, for sure. And then the show we played that fest was in
It was around
June, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, and then Abuse Repression played that show as well. So it was like, yeah, it was like a secret set. They were like, oh, you want to do this the same day? And we were like, sure.
For some reason, I thought the fest was later in the year, but so in a few months, y'all put together these songs, and then you play this set, and it's like, no, we should keep doing that.
Yeah.
When you did this set, were the songs recorded already, or you were still to record them?
The songs weren't recorded yet.
Okay.
I think we didn't go. I think we went to the studio in like August. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think it was. But yeah, I think we were just like writing everything up until then, and then so we went into the studio with Chris Colte, who owns High Bias Studios, like right in Detroit. It's like right in like I think it's in like Corktown neighborhood in Detroit, but yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, the obvious question, the record is called The First Five Songs, but it's apparently 7 songs. What's the story there? Just a joke, or is there?
I think it's just a joke. I think.
Okay.
I honestly didn't realize. I kind of like looked at because I got the 7-inch jacket and I was like, "There's 7 songs on this," and I was like, "We do have all these songs." I forgot. Like the joke was like honestly went right over my head up until like 2 weeks ago, and then I was like, "That's actually really funny."
Yeah, I didn't. It could have been like a more innocent, like, well, we thought we only had 5 songs, but then it turned out we have 7. But we were just
I
like,
think that
fuck
is
it.
actually how it ended up working because like all of our songs are so short, so we had 5, and then it was like, oh, we have 7 songs. Yeah, we went in the studio and recorded 7 songs. And let's just put all 7 on there because
Yeah.
you recorded it in like 2 days.
Yeah,
So.
that's awesome. What was that recording experience like for you? Like, how is it different than like Abuse Repression, or was it kind of just like business as usual?
It was honestly like it was really kind of insane for me. Like it, if I'm being totally honest, because everything Abuse Repression's done up until now, hopefully going forward, we will go into a studio with somebody else to like try and polish stuff up a little bit. But it was just all stuff we had done ourselves. Like it was just like done on our computers with interfaces like Behringer interfaces and mics that we had and all stuff like that. And me just doing vocals, like tracking them over whatever. But then we went into Chris's studio. It was like there's just so much gear in here. There's a live room. Everything's like separated. We all jammed in the room together, and then it was honestly so interesting compared to what I'm used to.
Yeah. Yeah. Did that intimidate you at all, or?
It did, and I think I've been intimidated. I'm still intimidated being in this band. Like it still freaks me out to this day. Being like they're all everybody in the band obviously so nice. They don't intimidate me like as people. Like it's nothing like that. But it's just like Abuse Repression has been people I've known my entire life. Basically, it's like because I've known Quinn since I was 7. Destin and Quinn have been friends longer than Quinn and I have, so they've known each other even longer. And then Micah just kind of gelled with us super easy. But everybody in It Happened One Night is like relatively new friends to me, so it's kind of like a bit of like, oh my god, and it's like I'm doing the recording in front of like, oh, there's a guy upstairs who can hear everything you're doing and not your bandmates.
Yeah.
It was definitely intimidating. So I was like, when you list, like I think I did really minimal like tracking because I was just like I was so shook by being in the studio. I just did a few takes of every song and then I said, yeah, we're good. And I think everything turned out great, but I was definitely scared a little bit.
Yeah, it is it's a completely different experience, like to be, you know, you're doing your thing, like in front of people that you're comfortable with, and and then you're in a room where like, yeah, a stranger is like, um like soloing like just your vocals or whatever for listen back, and
Yep.
and you're like in a room where like only your voice is going and no music, and you're like, oh
Yep.
god, just kill me now. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know, I think like all that stuff is super is super fun, and just like how you can just excuse me, like you like you can just be like in a room and doing this and just being like, yeah, I mean, I'm here like just to do this, not like,
Right.
I don't know. It's I think it's really, it should be really flattering, right? Because you're like, this person like picked me because of this, not because we're friends
Yeah.
already or
Yeah.
whatever. And that's really cool. I should have asked you to send me the whole thing so I could have listened to it before this, but I have obviously heard the song y'all put out, and I did watch the video back in June or whatever when y'all posted it. And so this was a project that I was like, yeah, this is going to be fucking awesome when that comes out. And the the yeah, I watched the video, and that was really interesting as well. Who did the video for you? It was someone named Luke, but that's not you, right?
No.
Okay, because
This is
there
the
was like,
video that we just released, or
yeah, because there was like,
yeah, I
the
think
person in the video was like, I I just I realized like I had to have this done by tomorrow or something like that. And so
yeah.
that makes it to where you're almost like, wait, someone in the band did this, or like, so what was the story there?
So yeah, so it was kind of like we cobbled that together because Derek, our bassist, is like a film and video guy,
Okay.
and he had some like throwaway footage that he shot with his buddy, whose name is also Luke.
Oh, okay.
But his is Luke, not
Yeah,
Luc.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, he was talking to like he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna cut this footage together and then put some live footage in and then call it a video. And I was like, that sounds great. And I watched it and I was like, that's great. I love it.
Okay, so that wasn't like a movie that somebody just like found on YouTube or something, and because you don't get the impression necessarily of what this video really is,
Right.
which is super interesting in its own way. And then so it was a movie that the people who made the video, or one of the people, it was a movie that they shot but they never used,
Yeah, they
more or less.
scrapped the footage. It was like it was for somebody contracted them to shoot it, but then the person who wanted them to film it never used it, and it just
Oh,
sat on his hard drive. And so Derek was like, "I'm stealing this
that's
and
awesome.
putting a video together." Yeah,
I love that so much. That makes it even cooler because it's just like I love that. Like, no, we did something artistic, and it's just gonna fucking sit there unless we do something artistic with it. You know. So I love that. Like, this work didn't go unseen. You know,
yeah.
because like
And when he was doing when he was putting the promos together, I was like, I loved what he was showing me. Like, hey, this is the footage that I wanted to use because we had like promos leading up to it before he played No Rest Fest with the Armed in December. It was like, oh, we're playing the show on the 13th, and it was like vignettes that were same from the same like sequences, I guess, or from the same like series of filmings. I don't know, whatever you would call it, a series of shoots, I guess.
sure.
And so I loved the way that he like put that stuff together. Derek definitely, he's got a mind for that stuff. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was a lot of fun to watch for sure. Um, but yeah, that 7-inch, which is called the first 5 songs, is coming out on Larry Records on February 13th. I think you can order it already, correctly?
Yeah, yes, you
Yeah,
can. Yeah, it's on
yeah.
the pre-order. Yeah.
Um, Correctly. I don't know. Right, correct. Anyway, but yeah. Why the 13th? I think there's like more than a couple of releases that are coming out on the 13th, and I was like, what's the 13th? Am I missing something?
I think we were kind of just like, is the time frame worked for us? And I think it being, like right before Valentine's Day, like the anti-Valentine's Day thing, like screamo for the brokenhearted type thing.
Oh, okay.
And
Sexy
I think
Day Eve.
with everything being red too, with the record being so like because the 7-inch covers are red, so
Uh
that was
huh.
like, let's go with that. And it was like it definitely worked. Or this whole band has kind of just been, what kind of goofy stuff can we do, you know,
Yeah.
while still like that, like while still people like will still like, oh, that's funny, or that's not funny, or whatever.
Yeah. And you have a variant which you called Bone, which I hadn't seen someone call their vinyl color Bone since I did it in 2015 with Ours Is the Cause Most Noble. I was like I haven't seen anyone call their vinyl color Bone since then. So I was like, yeah, that's dope. Well, yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to the rest of the record. Uh, I I've had fun chatting. I'm sorry if I was a little like long-winded in
No,
some of
it's
my
okay.
stories.
I'm
Um,
notorious for doing the same. I've
yeah,
didn't like I actually have thought about multiple times that I was like, oh, like I hope this doesn't happen, because like times talking to people at gigs where I'm like, oh, you need to like set up and I'm just talking to you, or you need to leave to drive to the next gig and I'm just talking to you right now.
yeah, yeah. No, it's fun. But yeah, I do try to keep these at around an hour, and I think that's where we're
Okay.
at now. Um, so I want to like open up the floor to you if there's anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about, like it's all yours. Like, go for it.
There's something we already like we covered really everything. I guess I will say Abuse Repression has some releases planned for this year. We have our split with Process Sleep coming out, which I know you talked to Jackson about,
Uh huh.
because I just listened to that episode to prepare myself for this one, so I knew what to expect. But that's hopefully should be coming out this year. We have a lot of songs written for that one. We just need to record it. We're going to be going on a few tours hopefully this year. IHON hopefully will be playing some shows here and there. Hopefully out east, hopefully, in the Midwest. And then I'm just, as you can follow me at Negroni Homie. If you guys want to keep up with me for doing stuff that's not Abuse Suppression or IHON, I'm just trying to start a third band that's going to be more like Doom Drone stuff. So hopefully that formulates by the end of the year. And also Fuck Ice, we are in the middle of a battle with the police state right now. So if you can do anything you can to help the people around you, whether it is, getting medical training, training how to help somebody if they get hurt, mutual aid, please do that. We need to resist the capitalist system that we live in, because nobody's going to take care of us if we don't take care of ourselves, and doing music and loving each other is a big part of that. So keep doing art, everybody. Keep playing stuff and keep fighting.
And that was my conversation with Luke from It Happened One Night and Abuse Repression. Thank you so much, Luke, for taking the time to chat with me. Thanks to all y'all for listening wherever you are as well. Until next time, take care and do good things.